I'm just going to quickly scan through the controls right now, the control set. So we got the general, the navigation, the park, the menus, the placement, ride construction, footpath construction, terraform clear, etc. There's a lot here, right? And then there's even a menu set that's just for the scenario editor. There's a lot to unpack here. Let's get on to the controls. So I can't snap to this menu, so let me really slowly drag, and now I can invoke with A on controls. All right. Then we're just going to move this camera back here. And let's take a look at our first set here, general. We've got the move pointer. That's your left D-pad. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. That's how you move. But moving on to snap to park menu, there's X, and then snap to build menu, which is Y. And then we've got the pause button or start button, sometimes referred to there. Options menu, which is going to be the minus button over here. And then increase game speed. We got our first key combo here. So ZL. So right here on the ZL, that's you're going to hold that, and then you're going to press the minus button right here. Or ZL, and then you're going to press the plus button. Now, unfortunately, I think we have an experience miss here, and that experience miss is essentially not lumping the D-pad, which is also considered snap controls, next to these X and Y. Unfortunately, these are not grouped together, causes a lot of confusion when you're reading the controls. I think this time it would have been okay to duplicate that section and just put a D-pad somewhere in this general section next to these other snap-related controls. I feel like that would have been extremely helpful, would have saved me some brain power. But let's go ahead and scroll now, because that's basically what we have to do. So let's scroll to here to menus. All right, and now we can see the snap pointer. That's the D-pad right here, and that's what it's referring to. All right, so the reason why I think the UX feedback also sort of stands as something reasonable to give is A and B, especially the A key or the A button, is repeated throughout this menu system. Like select object, select, build, um, build section. I can keep going. Like A, A is repeated, but for some reason the snap pointer can only be placed once in one place, and that just logically didn't make sense to me. Like, I feel like that control could have absolutely been duplicated. Let me actually now show you some example of snap controls. Let's go over here to the center of the screen, show my cursor's in the center of the screen, and then I'm just going to press like X, and you see how it's snapped to the top of the screen? And I'm going to go ahead and press Y, and it's going to snap me down. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to scroll over like this to continue snapping. But notice you can't actually snap outside of here. If I press up or down, nothing happens. It just lets me go left and right on this plane. And so what this is basically telling me is I'm sort of stuck in here. Like once you snap to an area, you're stuck there, right? So now I want to introduce a concept called snap boundaries and snap behavior. They're just terminologies that I made up to better communicate about these things. So anyway, if I press X and we go to build menu, and let's go ahead and open up something more complex like rides and attractions here. So now we can see the first behavior. If I press down, there's the very first thing actually before, so I'll press up again. So the very first thing I get to before that drop down is going to be this tab here, because it's the next thing I think closest that it can basically find. So if you can see I'm pressing right here, right on the D-pad. Now, where do you think it's going to go? To the X, or it's going to go down to the drop down? Press right. It went down to the drop down. So right goes to the nearest element, and then if I press right from here, I bet you to go to the X. No, goes to the top menu. Now it goes to the X with another right press. So this is the snap behavior that I was sort of describing. Definitely worth getting familiar with. Basically is nearest element behavior, and it has to be within a snap menu. That's something I forgot to mention earlier. It has to be within a snap menu. If the menu does not support snap, you won't get any behavior. So here's a great example now to transition into snap boundaries, which is directly related to snap behavior. If I press B here, we're not going to be outside of a snap boundary, which means that this cursor is not going to go anywhere. Even though the main menu is open, the main menu is actually not considered a snap, which is another one of my UX gripes. So another weird snap behavior edge case is when the game is paused. and I were to go up to, like, let's say this menu here, if I were to press left, it would actually start to traverse this menu. But even if I'm on the far side, and you would expect if I press right now, it's going to go to another element here. It won't. It's actually going to go down to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Watch, I'm going to press right. Shot me all the way down there. And so it's very strange. When the game is paused, any right hand movement seems to direct me over there. Same with this menu here. If I go here and I go left, it works. Right, it shoots me over there. And so it's just more snap inconsistencies. With all of the inconsistencies sort of pointed out, at least all the ones that I could find, let's talk about some real behavior and how you can actually be using it and utilizing this to speed up your gameplay. I just really like detailing out all of those extra side details, because I feel like, when you're going to use it, there's nothing worse than just being confused and frustrated when you're using something. If you actually have an expectation, sometimes it actually makes it a little bit easier. So go ahead and direct your attention to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right here. You're going to see something show up when I do ZL, which is the first button that you need to hold down. And then you're going to go ahead and press plus. And you're going to see that double arrow. I'm going to press plus again while still holding ZL. See that quadruple arrow. And then maybe that's quad with angles, I don't know. And then we're going to press minus, still holding ZL. Press minus, 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 and you get all the way back down to normal speed. Unless you press minus again while still holding ZL, it's going to rotate you all the way back to the beginning of the pattern. So at that point, you press plus to get back to the beginning, if that makes sense. All right. So we just finished reviewing all the general controls and bunch of side details. Let's move on to navigation. And let's see, the move the view is this right, which is actually going to move the menu that we're in right now. So I'm not going to press it, but that's the right joystick. And then the ZLR, that's going to be holding the ZL button down. And after holding the ZL button down, you're then just going to rotate either left or right. And that is going to rotate your view. That's going to be a huge time savings than needing to go up to the top of the screen. I'll demonstrate that later. Also, zoom view, again, you're going to hold down that ZL, and then you're just going to go and push forward or backwards, and that's going to zoom you in or out. Open map is like it seems. You press down on the R, and then go to notification is as it seems. You press down on the L. And I'll show an example of all of this stuff next. All right, let's go ahead and dive into navigation. So demoing the navigation controls, we can move the view with R. That's pretty standard. I'm pretty sure most people will figure that one out on their own. But rotating the view, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to hold ZL, hold that button down, and then you're going to rotate the joystick to the left or rotate the joystick to the right to go back to where you were, or just keep rotating all the way around. And this is a huge time savings I found. If I drag my cursor all the way up to the top right here, do you see these arrows? Every time you want to rotate the view, you want to drag your cursor up there and do that. Look how slow. This is top speed cursor. So you're going to save a lot of time using this hotkey, holding ZL and moving that joystick right and left. Very, very nice. Next one I'll go over quickly is the zoom view. So it's again holding ZL, and then now we're going to press forward on the joystick. Okay, and then we're going to back up, back up, back up, back up. You can see you can zoom out pretty far, and you can zoom in pretty far. So this is pretty neat. This is going to save you a lot of time. I actually don't know another way to zoom. Opening the map is another easy one. Let's go ahead and demonstrate that one now. So if I press R, press down, you're going to see the map. I'm going to sneak in a move control here. We're going to demo this later, but holding ZR can drag that map into better view here. All right, now here's one quick gripe that I have with the map control. So if I press down on R3, I would expect that if I wanted to close this menu, I could just press R3 again. And unfortunately, it doesn't do that. Pressing R3 doesn't do anything. I have to actually press B to close it. It's not the end of the world, but that is a little consistency flaw I noticed. All right, so we've got a notification. I'm going to press L3. Oh, I just missed it. All right, so basically, I'll just talk about notifications a little bit while we're waiting for them. So essentially, notifications, the main difference between them is, like, let's say you get a notification that a kiosk or another like technology that just finished researching. If you pressed L3, it would essentially bring you to that place in the build menu, whether it be a restaurant or a roller coaster or whatever. It brings you right to there, so it's really nice and fast. The other thing it does is like if something breaks down and you're all the way across the map and you were to press L3, it would automatically bring you to that location. So that's what that go to notification does. I'm waiting my time here to see if I can get one to trigger. All right, so here's a great differentiation. That's not a notification. In fact, if I press L3, nothing happens, all right? But what we do know is that if we do get a real notification, like something finishes researching, there it is, and I press L3, boom, it brings me to the thing that just finished researching, and so I can just build it right away if I'd like to. Alright, so Ferris wheel is broken down. I press L3. And what that does is that notification is going to bring us right to the Ferris wheel.